moments of silence to respect her passing. Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with the pledge. Alderman Gale, if you could lead us in the pledge today.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this meeting will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Here.
Mann. Easterhouse.
Here.
Bauer.
Here.
Holbrook.
Here.
Havermill.
Here.
Farha.
Here.
Sassen. Ryan.
Here.
Leopard. Here. Mussolino.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Heineke. Here. Oslon.
Here.
12 present, 2 absent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
I move the absent alderman be excused and receive normal compensation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to excuse the absent alderman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
move the minutes of the previous meeting be approved as read. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
First item on the agenda is the discussion passage of the annual town budget and appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2013-2014 and discussion passage of the annual town tax levy for the fiscal year 2013-2014. It was tabled for 1 week by Alderman Havermill.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
I move we sit as a town board and take up town business. Second.
We have a motion and a second to sit as a town board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
I think at this time it'd be appropriate for our township supervisor to address the council as sitting as town board.
Hello, good evening to all of you. I would like to just take a minute and explain to the general public who might be watching tonight who really doesn't understand township government and what we do. So on behalf of our office, I would like to explain Quincy Township. Quincy Township has 2 offices. We have the General Assistance Office and we have the Assessor's Office. The General Assistance Office, I am the supervisor of, and I am the treasurer of the township, along with administering the General Assistance Program. The Assessor's Office does all the property tax assessing in the city of Quincy. So the General Assistance side of it that I administer basically is a welfare program to those people who live in the city limits of Quincy and who need assistance. The program that we offer is the General Assistance Program, and it's our regular monthly maintenance assistance for clients who qualify. We also offer emergency assistance. We offer senior emergency assistance. Along with that, we also do representative payee work for clients who receive Social Security disability, but who cannot manage their funds. So we get their funds each month, and then we pay their bills for them. So in our office, we see quite a few clients every month, and we keep very busy, and it's a great program for the people in this community. On the assessor side of the township, they do all the property tax assessing. Along with that property tax assessing, they also have to set values. Every time a home in Quincy sells or changes value, the assessor's office has to take that into consideration and redetermine that value of that property. And that is how every other tax, and that is how every other tax, and that is how every other tax, and that is how every other tax. And so the assessor's office has, and so the assessor's office has, and so the assessor's office has, and so the assessor has to administer and change those property record cards. Along with that job, every 4 years, the township assessor has to perform what's called a quadrennial assessment. That quadrennial is state mandated, just as the General Assistance Office is state mandated. And when that happens through the quadrennial program, that assessor has a limited time to perform those duties to get that job done. And so all 16,000 parcels in this community have to be reassessed at that time. So as we move forward into our budget and our levy, I hope the people of Quincy understand why we are asking for this increase, and they see what we are doing for the community and why we need this. Basically, this increase that we are asking for, the 34% sounds like a lot of money. However, when it comes down to the actual dollar amount, the dollar amount is pretty low. We are asking for, if someone has a $100,000 home, about $4.27 more each year. If somebody has a $50,000 home, we're asking for about $1.67 each year. And so the amount is very small, even though the percentage is very high. I will say Quincy Township, over the years, we have not asked for an increase since 2006. And even though we've had increases to IMRF, we've had increases to Social Security and health insurance. And with all those increases, we've been able to keep our budget going and manage our funds. However, we are at the point that we can no longer do this. If we run out of funds, we will have to eventually borrow the money. And next year is that quadrennial that I mentioned. It is very expensive to perform that quadrennial because of the detailed work that it takes to perform that duty. So this is another reason why we're needing the increase. And I'm asking the council to really consider this increase, and I'm asking the public to support us because we really do watch our dollars. And over the years, I think we work how everybody wants government to work. We don't take more than we need. We don't stockpile money. And now that we need it, we're asking for the support because that is how the township's going to sustain itself, and that is how we're going to keep from borrowing money. And I really do feel it's a worthwhile budget. Overall, we've dropped our budget by more than $39,000 from the previous year. And, you know, again, we went through line item by line item. I have been elected as of April 9th. I've been in the office 14 days today, so my anniversary for 2 weeks. And I will tell you, I am moving this township forward. I am doing things to, you know, progress the township even further. As I have taken office, I've integrated a QuickBooks system into our banking, and so that is going to streamline our banking and online banking for us. That's a big step for the township. And the other thing that I have been doing is I have renegotiated our phone plan. That will be an over $6,000 a year phone plan savings for the township. The previous supervisor had a cell phone. I did not take a cell phone. I have let that go. I have a personal cell phone, and that'll work fine for me. The other thing, when my office needed repainted 2 weeks ago, I came in on Saturday, I repainted my own office. I've put in some energy-saving light bulbs. You know, I'm moving forward every step of the way. And along with that, I have hired a part-time person to replace my position. So that is, again, a tremendous savings to the township because we are not going to have to pay out IMRF benefits. We are not going to have to pay out health insurance for this particular employee. So overall, I feel like I'm moving the township in the right direction. I feel like the community supported me in the election, and I'm asking all of you to support me tonight and vote yes for this budget. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes, Mike?
The $39,000 that was cut.
Correct.
Did that come out of the general assistance budget?
Some of it did, but some came from the town fund also. And also, obviously, from some salary line items. So part of that came from, as far as like emergency assistance and the general assistance. And again, when we formulate that budget, we do those line items for the budget, we're only estimating what we're going to be giving out each year. I will say a little bit about township government that maybe some of you don't know, is that, again, general assistance can't run out of money. If we have so many people apply that we run out of funds, we have to take money from the town side and put into the general assistance side, or borrow money if we completely run out. However, I will say if we have money in the general assistance fund and we need to put it in the town fund, that cannot be done. You cannot take from the general assistance fund. So it's better to keep the general assistance fund a little lower, and if we need to take money out of the town fund and put in the general assistance fund, we can't do that. So that is another reason why part of that general assistance fund is a little bit less. Does that answer that question? I mean, I could go line item by line item if you want,
well, two comments. One, I commend your office for budgeting every year for the quadrennial assessment, so you don't have a big bill in 1 year.
Correct.
And that's a really good way of dealing with it. So
Steve previously had tried to set $15,000 aside per year, but because we've had these increases, he has not been able to solely put that into one separate fund.
It's been in the budget.
It's been in the budget, but the budget is as a whole. And so there is not a fund for this, a fund for that, for each line item. And so therefore, all the money is basically pooled together. And if something is needed within that township, it comes out of that entire budget. Does that make sense? I mean,
No. So
it's
for
not
the last
saying
4
that in the
years, you
future we
didn't
can't
save
change that. We sure can.
$15,000.
Pardon?
You went ahead and spent the $15,000 over the last 4 years?
It's not that it's spent, there is money there. However, what I'm saying is that if we don't have this increase, we will run out of money. There is still money in the budget, but we eventually will run out of money. Any other questions? Yes,
Yes.
Paul?
Go ahead.
When does the appropriation ordinance have to be passed?
Well, we're hoping to have a vote on it tonight and then hopefully pass it tonight.
When does it have to be passed?
Let me ask my town council, Jerry.
It's got to be by the
with the budget.
So I will have it.
Well, the budget needs to be passed by June 20th. And so I'm assuming it falls hand in hand.
How about the tax levy?
That would go hand in hand also, I'm assuming, yes. Mhm.
Jerry sitting back there?
Yeah, Jerry is back here.
Yeah, that's
Jerry, you
correct.
want to come up?
So it's gotta be in the first quarter, so that would put it at
The
June
levy has to
20th.
be in the first quarter also?
The levy's part of the budget, at the very end of it, it's part of the assessment, yes.
Okay.
Alderman Hammer.
Well, I think we talked about this pretty extensively, obviously, at the town auditing committee meetings and the town budget meetings. I think one of the most important points to bring out that was discussed at length there and probably led to us being unable to make a recommendation coming out of our committee about support or not support. I will preface my comments by I'm supporting your budget as presented and the levy as presented.
Thank you.
And I think one thing we need to remember is that this office, I think everything you do is pretty well mandated by the state.
That's correct.
We basically have no option, other than some severe cuts or borrowing money, some more severe cuts and borrowing money. I think another important thing to remember is that we have all taken advantage of and taken credit for keeping the town levy dollar amount the same since 2006, I believe.
Correct.
So I think it was the way that those dollar amount was kept the same, that dollar amount was kept the same was reserves were used, other things were taken care of, other things were cut, but at some point that's unsustainable. Unfortunately, we're at that tipping point where it's unsustainable. If there's not an increase, I don't like scare tactics, but looking at the financials as closely as I have over the years, I think we all knew at some point we would have to have a tax levy increase. So I think, you know, if we take the credit when we can cover keeping everything the same, I think we also have the responsibility to step forward and do the work when we have to bite the bullet and do something that's possibly
It is a tough decision.
It's a tough decision,
I
so-
hate being newly elected and thinking that we're raising taxes also. However, I don't think of it that way. I think it as sustaining programs and programs that are mandated. And we are a great township, and we've proven that time and time again.
And I think the other thing that's important, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, PPRT has tailed off.
Dropped, yes.
It has dropped off considerably. So that, I think all of that coupled together puts us where we're at. I don't like being here any more than anybody else, but you know, they're mandated programs. I just don't see any other way to do it unless we borrow the money. I know Cindy's put together a pretty lean budget, not replacing her position with a full-time
I
position.
feel like I'm doing everything
I
I can
think-
possibly do.
I believe in her enough and her office enough that I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt and support what she suggested.
Alderman Holbrook.
If we don't have this increase, we're going to have to borrow money.
Eventually, yes.
It's going to cost us more money in the long run
Correct.
than this increase will cost.
Correct.
Okay.
Alderman Ryan.
Yeah, there's my comments. I'm assuming you're on the committee next year, or this year? I don't know.
Yes, when you approved the committee
Okay,
assignments, he was the chair.
Okay, well, to follow through with your comments about sticking with the levy rate, I think that's a very wise move. And I suggest moving to a levy rate instead of a levy amount. It avoids this problem. And it was a bad administrative move over these years to do that. And the next is to take a closer look at the assessor's budget and see if there's ways to rein that in.
Alderman Brink.
So what was the PPRT decrease in the last, since 2006?
What was the decrease?
How much was that
I would
cut?
have to grab that paperwork.
Yes. Is that Mark?
In 2007, the township received $364,088. Last year, it received $282,870. So down roughly $80,000.
That was a gradual increase through those years?
I can give you every year I have.
Yeah, we have every year. I mean, it should have been in the packet, but
I
if
think
not.
it was in that one packet.
So we saw the PPRT coming down. Do we continue to keep a flat rate? A flat?
That is correct, and honestly, I will tell you, I wasn't aware.
And continue to spend down our reserves.
That is true from what I have been told. I will say I hadn't been in on the budgeting process up until this year fully because of not obviously being the supervisor. However, it was made clear to me that as more revenue could have been accessed year to year, it was not being accessed. The township basically was just saying, this is all we need, this is all we're gonna take. I will say, a couple of years ago, they discussed a possibility of trying to push forth a tax increase, but at that time it did not pass, and so we held out, and we are just at the point now where we can't hold out any longer. But again, I would like to say that, you know, this is how government is supposed to work. You're supposed to not ask for more than what you need. You're not supposed to spend it just because it's there. You're supposed to watch out for the taxpayer's dollar. But now that we need it, and this is where I need you guys to come forward and really help the township out. I mean, I think this is how townships and all government should work. I don't think we should have more revenue and have massive amounts built up if we don't need it. I think we should have it when we do need it, and right now it is the time when we need it.
I would disagree with that.
And you have your opinion too, that's fine.
I mean, we had to, as a government, we have to plan for the future.
I agree, you do need to apply for the future, but this is my first year in office, this is my first year with the budget, so you've got to give me some time.
Right.
I'm not saying that things can't change and things can't work differently and we can't work together, but this is a start, this is a step forward.
I mean, it looks like to me that we had a decrease in PPRT, yet we continue to keep the
If I have those figures, I don't think every year,
I've got 'em.
Dan,
Can I-
every year it didn't decrease, Dan.
I can help you, yeah, can I address that? I've got them here and I'll be glad to show them to you. They bounced all over, that's part of the problem.
That's part of
Because-
PPRT.
Right, because, you know, they're tied in with the state economy and
Right.
and the health. But just for example, you know, if the market crashed in 2008, it was 313 that year. The next year it went down to 297, but then in 2010-11, it jumped back up to 313,000. 11-12, 285,000, last year 282. So it hasn't been a continuous steady decline. It's bounced
But it
up
never
and down.
reached the 360 mark though.
Right, but we don't know also, and Ms. Brink's aware of this, I mean, you don't really know, like the city, you're in the same boat, whoever does the city, you don't really know for sure what you're gonna get because bad things happen with the state economy and it takes a dive, or good things happen and it goes up. So it's a gamble, like, to some extent, but, I mean, the committee, and Paul, I think, would agree with this, our reserves have been used over a period of 6 years, and that was in the packet sent too. So it's not, I mean, we've been using our reserves, and this has been, it's been a up and down, but it's been going down, you know, and particularly when you go back to 2006 or 2007 and 2008 when it was 364. So it's not something that's a complete shock this year. It's something that, you know, we knew about, but the benefit to the taxpayers is there was no increase for 7 years. There was no increase. The dollar amount stayed the same. That was the vote of the committee. Everybody was happy with it, but now that time's gone. So.
And I would point out too, not only was it the vote of the committee, it was the vote of the full council.
That's right.
So everything that the committee acted on, we all voted on.
No, I understand that.
Well, I just made it sound like it was a committee action and not the entire town board, which it was the entire town board, which is all of us.
Any further questions? Alderman Wright.
Just a quick one to either Cindy or Jerry. Over the last 4, 5, 6 years, what increase has the town seen in the IMRF required contributions?
The IMRF increase since 2006 is up 31%. Social Security is up 22%, and health insurance is up 56%. Because of those increases, that is what's using our reserves.
That's
And
true. IMRF and Social Security represents over 24% of the salary. That's a huge thing, and that's gone up considerably over the last 6 years.
I agree, and honestly, that is why I replaced my position with a part-time position, so we don't have to pay that out. Anything else?
Just one other question. Have we reduced any staff in the assessor's office?
Yes, they are down a half a person right now.
What year did that occur?
That occurred this spring.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman Hammond.
I move that the town budget appropriation ordinance be read by title only, please.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to read the annual town budget appropriation ordinance first time by title. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll read the budget first time by title.
Annual town budget appropriation ordinance for 2013-2014 of the town of Quincy in the county of Adams, state of Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning March 21st, 2013 and ending March 20, 2014. Here ends the first reading. Title.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
I move for the adoption of town budget appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2013-2014.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the town budget and appropriation ordinance. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Mann. Dusterhouse.
No.
Bauer.
No.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
Aye.
Farha.
No.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper. No. Messalino.
No.
Brink.
No.
Heineke. Aye. Oslog.
No.
5 yeas, 7 noes, 2 absent.
Is there any reason to do the levy?
Since there's 7 days, I'll cast my vote for aye. Motion is defeated. You want to table it?
I would like to call Jerry back up. Tim Wilkie to ask a question about the procedure. Is there any reason to vote on the levy?
No, the levy's included with the appropriation ordinance, so.
I guess I'll make a motion to send this back to committee and staff for reconsideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to send this back to the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It'll be sent back to committee.
I guess we move to sit as city council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to resume sitting as a city council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will resume sitting as a city council.
First petition is by Washington Theater requesting permission to hold an inaugural Friday 5K walk run on the evening of October 26th, beginning at 5 p.m. with participants to finish by 6:30 p.m. They are starting at Hampshire between 5th and 6th to head east on Hampshire 20th, south on 20th to Kentucky, west to 5th, north to 5th, and then Hampshire, then go west and cross the finish line outside the Washington Theater. They're requesting auxiliary police at lighted intersections and where it is appropriate.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman Holschlag.
I move prayer petition be granted and proper authorities notified. Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant the prayer of the petition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I have the monthly reports of the city clerk, the city treasurer for May, and the police department for April.
Move those be received and filed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the monthly reports. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we have public forum tonight.
Jeff, if you could state your name and address for the record, and just to remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Jeff Kirkhoff, 1221 Spruce. Thank you for your time, with a special thanks to those that made the public forum a reality. 225 years ago, on June 2nd, the Virginia Ratifying Convention opened in Richmond after the Federalist Papers had been completed. 8 of the 9 necessary states had ratified the proposed Constitution. Arguing for the Constitution were Father of the Constitution, James Madison, future Chief Justice John Marshall, and former Governor Edmund Randolph. Those opposing the Constitution, especially without a Bill of Rights, were Governor Patrick Henry, George Mason, author of the Virginia Bill of Rights, and James Monroe. Governor Patrick Henry warned, quote, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone approaches that jewel. In this scheme of energetic government, the people will find two sets of tax gatherers, the state and federal sheriffs. This, it seems to me, will produce such dreadful oppression as the people cannot possibly bear. The federal sheriff may commit what oppression, make what distresses he pleases, and ruin you with impunity. For how are you to tie his hands?" Unquote. The following day, June 6, James Madison responded, quote, "It can be of little advantage to those in power to raise money in a manner oppressive to the people. Direct taxes will only be recurred to for great purposes." Unquote. Madison further explained that, quote, "The powers of the federal government are enumerated. It can only operate in certain cases. It has legislative power on defined and limited objects, beyond which it cannot extend its jurisdiction." Unquote. Governor Henry was not convinced by Madison's logic, arguing, quote, "Tax excisemen may come in multitudes. For the limitation of their numbers no man knows. They may, unless the general government be restrained by a Bill of Rights or some similar restriction, go into your cellars and rooms and search, ransack, and measure everything you eat, drink, and wear." Unquote. With the final vote on the Constitution looming, James Madison explained the real responsibility, quote, "To suppose that any form of government will secure liberty or happiness without any virtue in the people is an imaginary idea. If these were to be sufficient virtue and intelligence in the community, it will be exercised in the selection of these men, so that we do not depend on their virtue or put confidence in our rulers, but in the people who are to choose them." Unquote. On June 25th, the Virginia Convention voted 89 to 79 to ratify the Constitution. However, although the news had not yet reached the convention, New Hampshire actually was the deciding state, having ratified the Constitution 4 days earlier on June 21st, 1788. Although Governor Henry and the Anti-Federalists lost the vote, they helped bring about the Bill of Rights, with the debates reminding us, as Governor Henry claimed, quote, "Government is no more than a choice among evils." Unquote. Tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., the Quincy Tea Party meeting at the Microtel on 3rd Street, the Virginia Ratification Convention will be presented in greater detail. All are welcome, and thank you very much for your time. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Ms. Alford Disherhouse.
Jeff, our city code says the purpose of the public forum is to allow the citizens of the city of Quincy an opportunity to raise ideas, comments, or concerns related to the city of Quincy before members of the city council. Where are the ideas, comments, or concerns that relate to the city of Quincy in your lecture here?
Oh, I think you just saw it. You had an issue on taxation. It also extends to local issues as well as to national issues. The issue of taxation that Patrick Henry brought up and you discussed tonight. So I'd say most certainly it is a local as well as a state and national issue, without question.
I don't see that. Can you dig a little deeper into it, help me understand?
Well, sure. Patrick Henry said that a government is a choice among evils. And that's true at all levels. He did not say only for the general government, which we now call the federal government. He mentioned that. Also, he mentioned the dangers of increased taxation. You brought that up earlier. So this is a local as well as a national issue. I mean, we might have to agree to disagree, but I see it as a local issue.
What should I be taking away from this then?
To guard the jewel of liberty very closely and to guard the tax money very closely. And I think from your discussion, that's exactly what you did. You took Patrick Henry's concerns to heart, because you heavily debated the issue on the township. So I would say you listened to both Patrick Henry and the reason of James Madison as well.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff, I have a question.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say a discussion of government at any level applies to every level of government? I mean, that's basically what you're saying.
Yes.
So we could take the lessons at the federal level, state level, whatever level, and apply it here locally. So any discussion of government at any level is pertinent to what we do here, correct?
Most certainly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
Alderman
I'm sorry.
Speaking of all that, did you get a chance to review the town budget?
I have discussed it with the supervisor, yes.
Do you have an opinion?
Well, since I followed it more in previous years, and I run numbers on how what I expected it to be based on the 1974, 1975 level by multiplying it by 4, and it is still, I can't give you the exact number off the top of my head, but it's still under the level that I would have expected it to grow to, adjusting for inflation.
What's your position on keeping the tax rate flat for 6 or 7 years and then coming for a bigger increase? Would you rather see a smaller increase, incremental increases, as opposed to one big increase in the end?
Well, you can look at that two ways, because if you have an increase, then that means all those years, those 6 previous years, that the taxpayers would have been paid an increased rate, as opposed to waiting for when it's actually needed. The downside is that Patrick Henry probably said, as well as we talked before at Grover Cleveland, is that if you give them the money, they'll spend it. So it's probably better to, from a philosophical point of view, to wait until it's actually needed and then have the increase. Ideally, it's best not to have an increase at all, of course. But if you're going to have one, don't do it until you absolutely need it. Because the downside is if you build up reserves, there's always going to be a tendency, no matter how frugal you are, is to have maybe a full-time person instead of a part-time person, if the money's there. Yep.
I do have one question.
Yes, Alderman Farha.
Just to be clear, with the exception of Alexander Hamilton, who's a Federalist,
Right.
there's probably not a single founding father that would disagree with your last statement. It's probably best not to have tax increases. Not only did we fight a war over tax increases, it was not in the original purpose to allow the central government to unlimitedly tax its citizens. That's why we're here.
And even
Now we gotta
Alexander
find some
Hamilton
local
would have.
politics.
And even Alexander Hamilton, there was reason, like, to what the increases were. I mean, he wanted it so that we would have a national debt and have a national budget to make it more a nationalized country. So, but if he had seen what had happened over the last 225 years, I would say even Alexander Hamilton would blush. Are there any other questions tonight?
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Yes, thanks for all the questions. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our first resolution, interim purchasing director, buildings and grounds supervisor, chief of police and finance committee recommending approval of the proposal from LWC Global Tech Power Incorporated of Winsville, Missouri in the amount of $23,121 for a new generator for the sitcom.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman Farha.
I'm going to move that we go ahead and approve the resolution, but I would like Jim Murphy to speak to it after we do that.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Jim Murphy, interim purchasing director, can come up for some questions, please. Yes, Mike.
Jim, would you explain the need for this, what departments are directly affected,
Okay.
and why we made the decision we did in finance?
Okay. This generator basically provides backup power to the police department for their communications during an emergency situation, and also the city's technology that's running, like our phone systems, the network, police department access to federal confidential information, doing background checks and stuff like that. So basically what is happening today is the current generator, if it switches on, it basically cannot hold the power for the technology that we have in the police department and the server room, and basically what happens, they drop. Last week we had a slight power outage here, and basically it caused a disruption in the service. We actually lost some hard drives, we lost a server because of this reason. So there is a huge need here for us to get this back up online. The current generator is 20 years old. It does not have the stability to handle today's environment, And basically, the type of generator it was built more for an industrial use, kind of like a plant where it's running pumps and stuff like that, and not for technology.
Any further questions? We have a motion and a second to adopt. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Sorry, Your Honor. Jim, I know you've come late to the game, but we did examine trying to repair or modify our existing generator. However, we got unsatisfactory answers.
Correct.
And no guarantees.
Basically, what we tried to work through the existing company to ask them to repair the generator. They basically said the generator's 20 years old. It's not going to work. They said they could try doing some stuff. It could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, but they wouldn't guarantee to work. We'd spend the money. If it didn't work, it didn't work. So that's when we look at, if we're going to spend that kind of money, why not look at getting something that's going to serve us for the next maybe 20 years. We also had Brown's Electric do an analysis, and I do have, basically their analysis basically pointed back that the generator, there is what's called a harmonic distortion. Basically, it causes interference. They basically said when you go on the generator, the distortion is huge versus when it's on regular power, and their opinion is that the generator's voltage regulator has some issues and that needed to be repaired. The company that we're looking at today said they could probably come in and get it to work, but what would happen is you would actually use up all your capacity, and we would never be able to expand. So anytime we'd add new technology or something, we'd be back in the same boat we are today. So everybody that we've talked to has basically said you've got to replace it just based on the age of the generator and the type of generator it is. It's not built for the environment that we have here at City Hall.
Alderman Holbrook.
Are we going to have a maintenance agreement with this new generator?
Yes, both companies that we were looking at offer one. The one that I'm suggesting basically was half the price of the other one. So if you look at it over a 5 to 10 year period, even a 20-year period, it's significantly lower. The generator cost itself was a little higher, but the overall cost is lower. The generator we're looking at is actually built for technology, if you want to think of it that way. It will run our environment. The other generator we were looking at, which was a little bit lower, is actually the same brand that we have today. But again, it's built for an industrial use, not really for electronics. So opinions from several people and an independent person is within a couple of years we'll be back in the same boat we are today because of our environment is not made for that type of generator.
Yeah, this is just to purchase the generator. We'll have to go out for bid for the installation.
Correct.
Separately, correct?
Correct. I think, again, like you said, I'm coming late to the game, but I think this came through City Hall Committee initially, and they felt to break it up into bits to purchase the generator and then go to maybe a local electrical company to have them install this. This generator is also going to be moved. Currently, it's in the basement of the police department, which is causing fumes that enter in through the ventilation system and can kind of overwhelm them down there. This will be moved behind an annex building, and it will also be a different type of generator. Instead of diesel, it's going to be both propane and gas. So it'll allow it to, in case something would happen to one, the other will allow it to keep going forward. So yes, we will. This is the first half of this. And then the second half will go out for bid if this gets approved, and we will explain to them what generator they'll have, and they'll work with this company to get it all hooked up. This company that we're suggesting here actually does the maintenance. The other company actually does not. They would defer that out to a company in the Quad Cities. So in my opinion too, that is also a benefit to go with the one company that's going to sell it and service it. That makes them more held liable to kind of make sure it works versus if I'm just a middleman, I'm going to sell it and then it's up to you to make sure it works. So they have more of a vested interest here.
Any further questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Mann. Disterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Habermill.
Aye.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Brink.
Aye.
Heineke.
Aye.
Oslot.
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution is adopted.
Next resolution is recommending the city enter into an agreement with Illinois Department of Transportation covering the installation of future maintenance of the improvement to I-57 with R.J. Peters Drive, Gardner Denver Interest, and across from Trinity Containers LLC.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Are there any questions or discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Alderman
I
Heffern.
guess it'd be for Chuck. Chuck, who benefits from this?
I would have to say the public as well as Trinity Industries and Gardner Denver specifically.
Are they paying for any of this?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Mand. Dusterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
No.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan. Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Brink.
Aye.
Heineke. Aye. Oslot.
Aye.
11 ayes, 1 no, and 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted.
Next resolution is Utilities Director recommending normal bidding requirements be waived and an invoice from Reese Construction Company in the amount of $16,965.50 for emergency repairs to 24th and Locust be approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
we move the resolution to be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Mand. Dusterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
Aye.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Brink.
Aye.
Heineke. Aye. Oslot.
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted.
Fourth resolution is Planning Development Director, Utilities Director recommending approval of the bid from Million Construction in the amount of $37,805 for improvements in support of the development of a new facility owned by Prince Ag.
Your Honor,
Yes, Alderman Mussolino.
I move for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Mand. Dusterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
Aye.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Brink.
Aye.
Heineke. Oslot.
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted.
Last resolution is interim airport director, aeronautics committee, and interim purchasing director recommending approval of the low quota Supreme Electric Company in the amount of $10,676 for relocation of electrical services and T-hanger taxiways project at the Quincy Regional Airport.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
move for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
May we have Marty come up and give us an explanation, please? Just give us a brief explanation of where this came from.
What we're dealing with is the entire T-hanger section of the airfield. Many of those T-hangers were given to the city after World War II. The electric was run to them at that time. They didn't know what a Julie locate was. In the process of installing drainage between the T-hangers, we encountered 4 wires that were never marked, that were power wires. We had to move those, relocate them to maintain power at the airfield. We did go out. The state is fully willing and accepts the fact that this is part of the project. The state will reimburse us for this. We have to initially pay for this portion of the project, and we will then be reimbursed.
So these are lines we didn't know where they were, and they're going to get paved over, so the state insists that we relocate.
We had to relocate them according to state code, and in order for us to even complete the project, we had to do it.
And they're paying for it.
And they're paying for it.
Thanks, Marty.
What if we vote no?
You vote no and it doesn't get done, the project comes to a halt.
The complete taxiway project.
The entire project would come to a halt.
Any further questions? We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale. Mand, Dusterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
Aye.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Frank.
Aye.
Heineke.
Aye.
Oslog.
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted.
I have an ordinance up for a second presentation. And this is amending the fiscal year budget. Another ordinance up for a second presentation is plan development 520 South 21st. Have an ordinance up for a first presentation, and this is snow removal at 9th and Main Broadway.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman Holschlag.
I move it be read first time by title.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read the ordinance first time by title only. All those in favor? Opposed? We'll read the ordinance first time by title.
An ordinance amending Article 7, snow removal of Chapter 14, streets and sidewalks of the municipal code of the city of Quincy of 1980. Hearing is the first reading by title only.
Can I ask a question? Why are we showing this? Can you explain what it is?
Went to traffic commission.
So the fire trucks can, Chief Henning can come up, he can explain each one that requested it.
I had requested the traffic commission take a look at this because in situations where we have large amounts of snowfall, plowing is prioritized by snow emergency routes. 9th Street is the main corridor the Central Fire Station uses to access either Broadway or Main Street, moving either north or south and east for that matter in town. 9th Street is not a priority street when it comes to snow removal, so we'd like to get that cleared, get a bit of a snow emergency so we can get our trucks out quicker and easier.
Anybody have to talk to the residents and park their cars?
No, I mean, it would just be a couple of businesses. I mean, not so much residences on 9th Street. There's a few, but not very many. But no, those conversations were.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
The next ordinance is also up for first presentation. This is amending the 2013-14 fiscal year budget.
Move that be read first time by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read the ordinance first time by title only. All those in favor? Opposed? We'll read the ordinance first time by title, please.
An ordinance amending the 2013-2014 fiscal year budget. Hearing is the first reading by title only. Have the report of the Finance Committee. To be transfers of $45,500, expenditures $147,864.69, and payroll to be $948,942.88. Fire Harbor, Dusterhouse, Holzlag, Havermill Committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman.
I move the report be received and filed and the vouchers issued for the various amounts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Gale. Mand, Dusterhouse.
Aye.
Bauer.
Aye.
Holbrook.
Aye.
Havermill.
Aye.
Farha.
Aye.
Sassen. Ryan.
Aye.
Lepper.
Aye.
Mussolino.
Aye.
Frank.
Aye.
Heineke. Aye. Oslog.
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 absent.
So ordered. Any further business? Alderman Gale, any new business? Alderman Dusterhouse.
Yes, Your Honor. I move that we allow a fireworks display at the Gems game on Sunday, June the 9th, under the same conditions as previously granted. This is a rescheduling of a rained-out event on the 31st.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dusterhouse. Alderman Bauer.
No, sir.
Alderman Holbrook.
No, Your Honor.
Alderman Havermill.
Yes, I've got a few things. First thing, I'd move that we change the date of the triathlon that was scheduled for June 1st. They've requested a new date of August 24th with the same notifications and same route and everything coordinated with the police department. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I have a question for, I guess it would be either Michael Seaver or Chuck Belheimer about an ordinance violation question, nuisance abatement type question. Chuck was probably either or both.
Flip a coin.
And this may seem something kind of minor after all the discussion we've had tonight, but I had a number of calls about what is the actual city ordinance regarding people putting grass and yard debris out into the street. Is that something that's enforceable or that we would enforce? Or enlighten me.
I'm going to say this was debated between engineering and inspection. Michael, do you recall the discussion? Wasn't this recently discussed?
It seems like there are two parallel provisions in the code, one being a nuisance, as you suggested, that any deposits on a public street or right-of-way are a nuisance, but I believe also in the engineering chapter of the code, there's also similar language. So in either event, I think we can address
Well, I mean, I know this is kind of a subjective, but what would constitute a nuisance? I mean, how bad does it have to? Does it have to be repeat? I mean, I think somebody mowing their grass when it's really tall and kind of blows out the street's not that big a deal.
It would have to be pretty significant. Yeah.
Okay.
We occasionally see people with a leaf blower blowing it further out into the street. I think with just a little bit of discharge on the street, it's minor.
Okay. And then, of course, it'd be pretty much complaint driven. We wouldn't necessarily go out looking for
That's
that.
correct.
Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
We have gotten calls a couple places, I'm thinking on Main Street, where we had significant grass debris blown into the street. The question really starts to rise, does it become a public safety issue? I think that then throws it into whether it is something that we have to respond to as a nuisance issue that's causing a traffic safety issue.
So basically, what we're going to ask is everybody be good neighbors and pick up your grass. All right.
That would be the best
That'd be
policy.
the best policy. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Chuck, Paul,
Yeah.
you might have David Kidd address that issue regarding the sewer. How much get the grass put on the sewer and block the sewer?
I was looking at more from an enforcement issue. I'm good. And then the last thing I have is, I want to ask the council's indulgence. I want to ask Jared a question that we probably should have asked. Jared Timberwolke as a township. Since this got defeated tonight, Jared, what's going to be our procedure here?
Well, we'll need to have another committee meeting. I'm assuming you sent them back to the committee. And we'll have to do that next. We have to pass it the 10th or the 17th. That's either the following Monday or 2 Mondays from now.
Okay.
So we're sticking around to hopefully arrange a committee meeting.
Okay. And Cindy, I think, had something to add to that.
I guess my concern is, I'm not sure how everybody feels or what is going to make this committee happy to get this passed, because I feel there's certain individuals here that regardless if there's an increase, they're gonna vote no, and again, I think it's a stalemate, we're not gonna move forward. And so my question to the trustees is, what do you want from us as a township? Where are you looking at us going, and,
What?
as we head into this committee meeting?
Why don't we do this? And if I need to alter my motion from before, I will certainly do that. But I think I would ask that the auditing committee stay after the meeting real quick. Jennifer and Dave, we'll set our meeting. We'll make that an open invitation to any council member that wants to be there. And we will make it so they can discuss openly the budget as well. We'll post it that way. So we have,
I
yeah.
think
It's
Jerry's
posted
open.
for tonight, so it's clear to talk about it completely.
I mean,
What I mean for the new meeting, when we set the new meeting.
Well, and we can do it tonight because it is noticed in for tonight through the public notice.
Okay.
Anything concerning the budget as well as the 2 ordinances that we're.
Well, I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable on the fly asking Alderman to offer suggestions for the budget. So I would prefer we do that when we set the meeting. I'm assuming we have to set it for next Monday.
Well,
We
we
were
have
hoping to
to
do it Thursday night.
Okay,
And then maybe come back to council on Monday.
we'll discuss that and try to get that going. Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the process. As with any township meeting, those are publicly posted and everybody is welcome to attend. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay. I do have one thing. Tomorrow's a very special day, and I want to wish Pam Ryan, very happy birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Pam. Make sure Mike takes you out to dinner. Alderman Farha.
Just one thing, just to let everybody know, Alderman Sasson is absent tonight because he's been in St. Louis and Southern Illinois with all the storm cleanup. He'll be there, I think, until tomorrow. Thank you.
Alderman Ryan.
No additional business, Your Honor.
Alderwoman Lepper.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Alderman Mussolino.
No new business, Your Honor.
Alderman Brink.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Alderwoman Heining.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Holschlag.
Yes, Blessed Sacrament, I'd like to request shutting 7th Street from Monroe to Adams from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. June 10th and June 2 through June 14th. So moved.
Okay, 6:10 through 6:14?
Yeah. So the kids can cross the street. They're doing some construction. The kids can't play for the vacation Bible schools. They're going to cross the street. So the street closed. And barricades will be needed. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourned.